Hey there, everybody. Always good to get back on here with you all. I'm taping this on early Friday morning, December 5th, while we are still in the midst of this incredible full moon in Gemini, super moon, last full moon of the year. I did my pick a card reading yesterday on that and put it out. So for those of you who may be interested in that and exploring, coming off the political tip a little bit and exploring a pick a card reading, so you can get some insights, please do. There's a playlist on this channel that has full and new moon readings, so you can always go get it that way instead of going all through the list of my videos. But check it out if you're so inclined. All right, you all. Couple of things I want to start out today. Thank you always for being here. Subscribers, members, you already know. Between holidays, personal stuff, I had to postpone it to this Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right? I sent a post out that members only received, so hope to see you there. You know how we do. We have a really good time. If you're not familiar with my membership, I do a live monthly Zoom session as part of my bonus offering. I do it on Zoom so that it can be private. It is not recorded, and we just get on there and we vibe about a number of different topics, everything from politics to our spiritual development and growth and growing as a community and supporting one another. It's all good. So would love to have you there. Check out the description box if you're interested in my membership. That is exclusive to members only. And now and thank you all for those who are signing up for the workshop on Practical Magic Workshop on December 28th on my website. Again, details on that in the description box. We're about to set 2026 off and truly getting into our own power. So looking forward to that. All right. I want to start out today on a high note. Tish James, I'm just going to pick a random number. Tish James, 10. Sleepy Dawn, 0, right? We learned yesterday that this effort to go and get another grand jury after a judge dismissed the cases between against Comey and Tish James, saying there's no there. Lindsay Halligan is in the totally wrong profession, right? So okay, we were like, okay, check, that's done. And then they came up with we just gonna go back to the drawing board, and especially let's start out with Tish and reapply and convene another grand jury, and let's go back and see if we can do it on what basis and why. But the grand jury, it didn't even get that far as it did before because the grand jury refused to indict. Tish James 10, going back to all the things that she's done. Tish James 10, Sleepy Dawn 0. All right, getting into some reading material now. December 17th. So we've seen this kind of back and forth with Jim Jordan and Jack Smith, right? Jim Jordan saying, we want you to come in and testify as to the classified documents report on Sleepy Dawn, and Jack Smith saying, okay, I'm glad to do it, but why do I have to do it in private? It should be, by all rights, it should be a public situation, right? And the report should be released publicly. So then, we stopped hearing about it for a couple of weeks, and lo and behold, now we understand that Jordan and the Judiciary Committee, House Judiciary Committee, has in fact subpoenaed the deposition testimony of Jack Smith on December 17th. We are also understanding that it is going to be private, like not made public. But I want to take a look and see if, in fact, it is going to go public. And you know what, you all, before it happens, let me turn up my air conditioner, because as soon as I get going, this thing will click on and it's loud. All right, we took care of that. That thing is loud and interruptive, so I should have done it before taping, but here we go. That was quick. Spirit. What will be the outcome of the deposition testimony from Jack Smith on the classified documents case? Keeping in mind, and you all were right, I got to give you props where props are due. I got excited for a hot minute talking about the classified documents case in Georgia because it was on the verge of being dismissed. And this guy, I forget his name, you all will remember, you'll remind me, somebody please put it in the comments. But this guy, because they couldn't get someone else in the DA's office in Georgia to take over the case behind Fonnie Willis. Okay. That still stings, but whatever. Um, so this guy steps up and says, rather than have it be dismissed, I will take it over. I saw that as a potential sign of, okay, they're not going to let it go. It's not being dismissed. And many of you responded and said, Fefe, girlfriend, this dude, if you knew the background of this dude, you know he's up to no good. And sure enough, we heard, I think earlier this week, that case, the classified documents case against Sleepy Don in Georgia, is done. It's history. He went in there and just got rid of it. He stepped up to the plate and got rid of that case. Now, that takes me back to Jack Smith, because Jack Smith's case, classified documents, is what he's supposed to, that report is still out there, we haven't seen, and that's what now he's being, Jim Jordan, he's being pulled into to give his deposition testimony, but privately. I want to see what the outcome of that is going to be, Spirit, and if in fact that report will be made public. Will Jack Smith's report on the classified documents case be made public? We have the Queen of Cups at the bottom of the deck with the Ace of Cups and Judgment. I'm not going to ignore that. And the Hangman, not going to ignore that. All right. Hangman, Judgment, the people's awareness, but having to wait for it. Ace of Cups, yes, we will see it. And the Queen of Cups. I think we're going to see it because I don't know what woman is high up or prevalent on that House Judiciary Committee, but there's somebody who's going to hear that testimony from Jack Smith, if in fact they hold fast and it winds up being private instead of public. I don't know the extent to which Jack Smith has any control over that process. He made his preference clear, but ultimately, I guess to comply, if it's private, it's private. But there's somebody in that mix, in that private setting, who's going to set some things off and say, I wish I knew. If I had known this was coming in the reading, I'd have looked up. You all let me know. Drop some names if you feel like it. What females are on that, high-ranking females are on that Judiciary Committee who might be interested then in the wake of Jack Smith's testimony on the 17th of December, saying, this is too much to keep private. This must be made public. Spirit, will we see that report? Will the public see Jack Smith's report? Two of Swords, trying to conceal it, debate being made, going back and forth, the Justice Department coming on, the debate about its relevancy at this time. But the Ace of Pentacles. It's going to take a minute. I love it. Thank you, Spirit. It's going to take a minute. The Two of Swords, again, that's so this woman is going to hear that, this information, this testimony from Jack Smith, which is going to be on the record. All right. So that's going to be some additional information on the record. The classified documents report that we know Jack Smith had ready to go, and then all of this happened. So I think that Two of Swords is saying there's going to be some teeter-tottering within the Judiciary Committee, and this woman is going to be the one to say, I don't care what you're talking about, Jim Jordan. Look at what we just heard, and this has to be made public. This has to be made public. Ace of Pentacles, but Pentacles moves slow, as does everything around him. But I'm also around Sleepy Don. But I'm also getting that there's something here where that information was so damaging. Remember, we saw the pictures of the boxes in the bathroom and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's so damaging, and it adds to the idea or the notion that these documents were shared potentially outside of the country for entertainment purposes only, right? And therefore, this bounces back on the midterms. I'm telling you, every single thing that we see unfolding before us right now, I think most of you would agree, everything is being done with an eye towards the midterms, you all. Everything. I even saw something that said, talking about whatever they're putting in his hand. A lot of people are saying it's these Alzheimer's IVs administering some kind of drugs to combat Alzheimer's, and that was the reason behind the MRI, was to, keep track of what's happening in his brain, because apparently this medication, everything, has side effects. And so one of the side effects could be brain bleeding, brain swelling, brain decline, like accelerating the very thing that it's supposed to fix. You got that. But what they're saying is they're like, pump him up with whatever they got to pump him up with, because they're really just trying to get him to the finish line, or the halfway mark at the midterms. That's their goal. They still want to use him as a prop to get their base out to the polls. We saw what happened in Texas yesterday with SCOTUS, right? We knew it was coming. That one was no surprise whatsoever. We knew that SCOTUS was going to uphold that one. But let's see what happens in Virginia. Now Virginia's up to bat. Like, got to do something. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Indiana cave, even though we know there was that legislator who said behind that, that I'm not even going to say the word, that derogatory comment about a mental capacity that Sleepy Don made toward Mike Walls. You know all what I'm talking about, right? The R word. And someone in Indiana said, I'm not voting for your map then, sir, because my daughter has this condition, and what you have said is beyond insulting. I'm not voting for it. That said, we're hearing that, there's already been some pressure, some swatting, some other things going on. Wouldn't be surprised you all steel yourselves for what might happen in Indiana. Certainly hope not, but what I'm getting from my spirit guides is, yeah, don't be surprised. So then that puts Virginia certainly up to bat. I don't know what happened with Maryland. I don't know what's happening with Westmore. I'm going to take a look at that a little later. But back to the point at hand, that Spirit wanted me to bring to you today. So we know increasingly New Orleans, and now they're getting ready to go ICE or Border Patrol going into Minneapolis, right? Why is Border Patrol essentially, and Dan Bambino, essentially taking over from ICE? Because what we're seeing is these ICE agents, for all of what they're promising them, are like they're just pulling them off the street. Well, sure enough, there's been some reporting done, you all. They literally are doing just that. I discovered and read and confirmed, did enough research, I'm comfortable with this, even a 469-pound man was considered for an ICE agent position. Considered. Not that he did not pass, but the point is there is no vetting that is being done of these agents at this point, you all. They're saying half of them are illiterate. They can't even take the tests, any kind of the vetting process. They can't take the test. Like this 469-pound man, they can't pass any physical fitness tests. But what is especially disturbing is they are, with this $50,000 bonus, they are going after and targeting Hispanic and Latino agents, dangling that money in front of them, and because they are Spanish speaking. How do I also have that confirmed? Because come to find out, they had a 16-week, DHS had a 16-week program to train ICE agents. That program was narrowed down because they couldn't hack it, was narrowed down to 6 weeks. And of that, we're learning that not even everybody is making that cut. Of that, they used to have Spanish modules of the training in place. Why do you have Spanish modules of a training in place if you don't have Spanish speaking candidates, right? They turned around and yanked those modules, and instead, I understand now, for those recruits, they are using translation apps to try and make them help them stay on top of what's happening in English in the training. You all, and I've seen some online. I'm sure you have too. Some images of, ICE agents who are clearly not of different ethnic backgrounds, right? So that's their deal. They're dangling this money, $50,000 here. I know you could use this. Just come do what we need you to do. And there's the son confirming it at the bottom of the deck with the high priestess, confirming it at the bottom of the deck. You all, so that is why there's all of this pressure on the Border Patrol to come in, because ICE and this recruitment, they're under orders from Sleepy Dawn to get at least 10,000 new ICE agents on the streets, like stat. And it ain't happening. I understand as of this taping, they've only got about almost 600 of them have already been disqualified, and they've got something like 600 in the pipeline. 600 compared to a $10,000 mandate. I mean $10,000, 10,000 can recruit mandate from Sleepy Dawn. So that is why you're seeing a lot more from Border Patrol, because Bovino, Greg Bovino, for all of his like. Let me spray. Let me just try to cleanse the vibes. Covering the topic, but cleansing the vibes. But he has the experience. Been with the Border Patrol Customs, like 15 years or so or more. So he has the experience, and that's what they're trying to mitigate, is this absolute morass of ineptitude that's happening on the ICE agent side, both with recruitment efforts and with training efforts, and then what we are seeing on the streets. Clearly not ready, not fit, not ready, not can't read, can't write. One person got pulled out of the training because they had to go to court on gun charges, and that's who you're letting in? That Kristi Noem thing, everything in timing, but and those people are not the sun and the high priestess. Things are going to come to light. There's a balancing act that they're doing. That's why Border Patrol, they want to be able to have the cover of Border Patrol. Yes, we do have qualified people. Yes, we do know what we're doing. Yes, we are well trained. We are, blah, blah, blah. But that's not what's happening behind the scenes. It's really, really crumbling. And when it comes time to prosecute them, it ain't going to go down like it did for the January 6th people. There will be no pardons, right? There will be no pardons. All right, you all. So that's why we're seeing so much of the Border Patrol basically taking over for ICE, because ICE can't do it, and they're not finding the bodies for them to even be able to implement their processes. And yeah, that's going to get worse before it gets better. All right. Not that there's any better to be got. Let me check myself on that. I heard you before you even put it in the comments. All right. Last thing I want to take a look at today. So I didn't even know this thing was a thing. The color, the Pantone color situation. If you've been on social media at all, especially Threads, your feed for sure has gotten hit with this. So apparently in the color world, which is why I am using today my Couture Tarot. It actually is a really beautiful deck, collage style. So apparently there's some group of global fashion color experts that gets together every year and decides the color of the year, certainly within the fashion industry. This is important. I'm going somewhere with this. So this year, why and how they came up with something called Cloud Dancer is the name. They got to come up with a Shasha name for it. So it's called Cloud Dancer. It's white, the color white. They chose the color white for the year, the color of the year 2026. Social media lost it, lit up firecrackers, pow, pow. Like, so they were like, oh, I bet you we won't. So today, this is actually like this dark, deep teal. This is one of the colors that's being replaced with that dark jewel greens, basically, luxe colors, really rich, vibrant luxe colors, like deep violets and deep rusts and orange. Like, people have been coming up with all sorts of alternative color palettes, but it's gonna be anything but white, because what on earth made you think that, right? Here's where it gets interesting that I did not realize. Talking about on a political landscape, there's information that some of this is being done deliberately, because colors, think about this, especially if you're in metaphysical communities, you're into chakra work, you're into crystals, color healing, energy healing, that some of these colors then come out with accompanying things like fragrances, and with a color like white, which is designed for neutrality, which is designed for quote unquote calming, that this was chosen deliberately because they did not want to choose a color that that would stir emotion within people, that's something that would just basically get people to and by the way, I'm doing this because some of you, when I shuffle and my mic is right there, I'm trying to save your ears. Some people have said, the idea was to basically numb people with this white, just stay in a non-active space versus more vibrant colors, because what happens is they use these color palettes for everything from clothing to advertising to fragrance. I even found out they'll take notes of a color and then promote those notes through certain essences and fragrances that then hit department stores and hit Walmart or other, everything from lower scale to up higher scale price points. So there's this whole marketing aspect of it. Keep in mind that how did 2020 Project 2025 happen? It was a marketing aspect. It was a marketing tool, and it was certainly used throughout the 2024 campaign. Spirit. Is it true that this was done perhaps in concert, whoever these global fashion experts are, was this done in concert to try and add to misinformation, disinformation, and neutralizing voters? Queen of Swords, somebody on that global board. King of Cups, somebody else on that global board of fashion experts, color experts, because they study. And the devil. I knew it. I knew Spirit was about to give me a major arcana. I didn't know which one, but there we go. And the devil. Yes, that's it. These are people, I don't know if these are people part of the billionaire class or rubbing elbows with the billionaire class, but this goes deeper than just a trending color or being cute with it. This goes way deeper than that, you all. And they got busted. Point blank, they got busted, and the people saw it for what it is. I think we're going to see a lot more information around that, because part of what Spirit is saying, you all, is in the coming year, and perhaps it's part of this revolutionary change that we're seeing in society in general, our ability to think strategically. And it's not about conspiracy theories. You know me, as a former journalist, I'm the last person to jump on a conspiracy bandwagon. I want to do the homework, I want to do the study, I want to do the research. I want to know there's some meat to it, there's some there before I'll sign on to it. But we know that behavioral marketing and behavioral ideas politically is a thing. It's a thing. How do you get people on? How do you get them riled up? How do you get them dumbed down? There we have it. All right. So it's on us. It's really incumbent upon us to not jump on everything we hear, but process. And if it rings true, do your homework, find out, get beneath the layers to get to the truth of, and the crux of the matter, and then act accordingly. All right. All right, you all. I appreciate you. Always check out my class. Go to my website. Please sign up for my class. I'd love to have you there. We're going to get into some things, practical magic. Members, hope to see you on Sunday. And I'm not going anywhere before we do our chin up. Thank you all so much, those of you who put in the comments that's sort of become a mantra and a part of your thinking. It shifts our thoughts. Talk about behaviors, right? Chin up. Know who you are. Shoulders back, right? Coming from your heart. Always, always, with yourself first and foremost, because if you're good, then you can walk in the world in a way that spreads that. All right. I'll talk to you real soon. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye.